With this video, I will start implementing Capstone project for AWS security. What exactly I'm doing here is I already have a AWS Landing Zone implemented. I will be using a case study of a healthcare organization, a small sized healthcare organization which is operating into digital health and wellness. This is a fictitious company. Based on my experience, the environment I have seen, and for a healthcare or digital health wellness company, what are the security requirements needed? What are the regulatory compliances these kind of companies has to adhere, and what kind of challenges this industry or this kind of companies have? Considering all of this, I have created one project here. I am trying to implement all the security features that a typical small sized company needs to secure their environment. I will now go ahead and first read through the case study and understand the background. JRT Cure is a fictional 150% digital health wellness company. Their flagship product is subscription app and telehealth platform. That means users book virtual consultations and they store their health records, and they can track their fitness data, and they pay via Stripe tokenized card flow. So enables uh, this helps not without storing any PAN information in AWS. Your our payment gateway or payment environment is PCI adjacent. In the next section, why security matters right now. Obviously, for every organization, security matters. But let's see what are the important main factors that we need to drive, that we need to consider in this project. First thing is, we are just kind of taking one scenario. Usually, let's take a scenario where a company has got a new client, win a new client, which is a corporate wellness client. So I'm just taking that scenario. So when usually if a company gets a new client, sometimes there would be a specific requirements that we need to meet to serve the client. So similarly, I have taken just one example. Like, this company has signed its first enterprise wellness client, and that client requires SOC 2 type 2 report within 6 months. So that client requested or that client wants SOC 2 type 2 report to be produced within 6 months. So this is one pointer. I need to make the environment ready for SOC 2 type 2 audit, and we are compliant to the audit. We need to ensure our environment is ready for that. Need do all the required configurations and settings that will help clear the SOC 2 type 2 audit. and that has to be done 6 months, that's okay, but we need to set up all the environment to get ready for the SOC 2 type 2 audit. That is one requirement. And the next one is, because this is a health and wellness, digital health and wellness company, so it is digital means there is definitely there is some kind of data that is stored. So as this is telehealth company, obviously what data it will store is a patient's record data. So as so when the moment you store health records, you had to adhere to HIPAA compliant. In the HIPAA, PHI is the important component that should be protected, like patient names, their diagnosis reports, their appointment notes. Since this is a telehealth, so their consultations usually happen through the video calls, and that video call or video call metadata should also be protected. And then there is another, just a case I have taken. Let's say I'm just taking, so organize the management, our board has seen some risks around this industry. They have come across one of their competitor which has had a major uh, breach, where the where their customers PI data is leaked from the S3 bucket, and their S3 bucket is publicly published publicly. So now we need to prove the our management that this would not happen to us. So we need to take care of all the nuances, all the settings that are needed to make sure this incident would not happen to us. Then the next thing, there is one engineering team which is being operating separately with a different account historically, but there is a finding that they are having broad IAM permissions in that account. Now, since we are using a multi-account landing zone, we had to bring that account to our landing zone, multi-account landing zone. Then we have to address that problem of having a broad IAM permissions. These are like few important requirements that we need to consider before um, designing, implementing the security solution for this organization. Okay, so there is an assumed account architecture. There would be one security OU where you would have log, archive, and audit security tooling accounts. The purpose is to have central CrowdTrail, config logs, guard duty, security hub, delegated admin. So entire security tools are being operated, administered from here, though it will cover all the accounts across through the delegated admin permission, but an actual management is done from the security OU and the accounts, log, archive, and audit security tooling accounts. So then comes the infrastructure, where you have shared services and network. Whatever the shared services needed for entire organizations are operated from this OU, and there are two accounts, shared services and network. So network account obviously takes care of all the networking needs, networking tools of the environment. And then the third one is is the main thing where you have a workloads, be it a dev, staging, prod. Again, we would have three separate accounts: dev, staging, prod. So here, all the applications, business applications, are operated from this account. Then the last one, the sandbox environment. This is for a individual dev sandboxes. So the purpose of this is to reduce the cost and reduce the blast radius isolation for experimentation. Usually the sandboxes on the sandboxes are strict controls are not applied because that would hamper the innovation, but we have to make sure that the blast radius, if there is some threat or some breach in the sandbox, their blast radius should be isolated and limited to the sandbox. That should not impact other accounts and workloads. And then we are defining on the what kind of data classification we are going to have. PHI is the important one since this is a healthcare telehealth company. So what PHI in the PHI, what data classifications that we can have: telehealth nodes and appointment records. These will be in production only. And PII, usual for any organization, PII information is important. That should be protected, like names of a person, emails, addresses, date of birth, and all of this should be protected. This classification should be done in both production and some of in the staging with the mask data in the staging also. Then the next classification is confidential, internal financial employee data. So this should be confidential. So there should be a classification for that as well. Then the public, obviously for a business there should be some information that should be published publicly for marketing business operations perspective, and then we should have that public data classification also. Project objective bit of it I already explained. Design and implement the security controls a real healthcare company would need to pass SOC 2 audit and demonstrate HIPAA reasonable safeguards and survive a credible incident on top of the landing zone we have already built. We are not just enabling the service, we are producing the artifacts an auditor or CISO would actually ask for. Policies as go for like policies as code, run books and evidences. So since we have to make ourselves SOC 2 audit ready, so we need to make sure that we are also able to provide artifacts to the auditor. So we need to set up an environment where we can produce the artifacts. So now this project is divided into different phases. There are 7 phases. So first phase is identity and access foundation. In here, setting up IAM identity center and write service control policies at OU level, implement break glass procedure, and IAM role with strong MFA and CloudTrail alerting, enable IAM access analyzer in the audit account, run against the production, remediate any external cross account access findings. Okay, what are the deliverables? SCP JSON files in a repo, an IAM permission set matrix, who can do what and where, and one page break class account runbook. Project is divided into different phases. We'll go through each phase step by step, but each phase has an objective, what objective that we need to address, and what are the tasks that we are doing, and what deliverables I should be producing in this phase. So I will do, or I will implement these phases in upcoming videos, separate upcoming videos.